one of the things I always say is believe, become. And if you don't believe in your strength and your powers and your knowledge and your creativity or anything that you're doing in your own field, then you're going to start sinking.
Welcome to the Think Splendid YouTube channel. My name is Lynn Stevens, and I'm the founder and CEO of Think Splendid, where we provide business strategy for luxury wedding and hospitality brands. In celebration of 15 years in business, I'm sitting down with 20 wedding industry leaders from around the world to discuss the realities of owning an event business in 2020. These splendid conversations are honest, candid, and authentically optimistic. In this episode, I chat with my friend Eddie Zaratsian, a celebrity event designer based in Los Angeles, California. Eddie and I talk about staying relevant year after year, landing brand partnerships, the impact of the pandemic on his business, and more. Here's our conversation. Enjoy.
I got into the business in 1988. I started in the balloon business, believe it or not, and kind of then expanded to gift baskets. Then I was forced to get into the floral business. Then I was kind of pushed into like doing the overall event design and decor and production of it. I was originally studying to become a chemist. So there's always like a formula that you had to do. So I figured the creativity part of it was great, but there's a formula to creativity, right? There's like steps that you have to kind of go through. And I thought, what a perfect match, because I had 2 accidents during chemistry class that I was like, hell no, I'm never going to do this for my career because I'm going to be blinded. And so I decided to get into the business, the creative business, without really knowing how my career was going to develop or even become what it is. I knew I was going to be great at what I did, always, because that's the type of person I am. And I knew that I can't rest on my laurels because there was always something that I was always craving for, or there was a need of satisfaction to do bigger and better. And I've got here, hence 2020. I've almost done almost everything that I wanted to do in my career. I've published a floral art book. I'm considered one of the top in the industry as far as event design and decor. And I'm still pushing, right? And I'm still pushing to kind of pivot and be relevant in this age and time. And you and I have always had conversations about what's going to happen in the industry. Of course, we both did not predict this, but
No.
you always have an incline of really great insights that you've always shared with me as a colleague and a friend, that I've always admired your insight of like human behavior and what is going to happen. Me, on the other hand, I'm the intuitive one in the side of creativity, right? Like pushing boundaries or like using materials that people have not thought of, and thinking out of the box, right? Like I think every entrepreneur, whether they're creative or not creative, they're creative in their own way of how their company is kind of manifested or what it becomes. So I thank you for being always my friend, a great colleague, and so much full of insight, because you've also given me, you told me 2 years ago about TikTok. You're like, you need to get on TikTok. Still haven't figured it out, but we're working on it. Had a really great meeting yesterday with a director and producer, which, when you see all those videos on TikTok, you think it's your own phone and people are doing this at home by themselves, but there's a whole production behind it of editing and really thinking the content. And you'll see a big change from what I've published before on TikTok and what you're going to see within, I would say, the next month coming up, of like really cool, fun ideas that are not so much education and not so much Instagram. It's a complete different audience that we're looking to. It's more like fast, either, inspirational things, or like, having these flowers and going voila, and then suddenly there's an arrangement done, and you're like, there's such a like, how did this guy do it? So like, let me find out a little bit more, which hopefully that will translate and direct people to my YouTube page, to my Instagram, to my Facebook, to my website, all that great, kind of then encompassing the whole aspect of the whole social media, wherever it is, right? From the younger generation to the older demographic.
It's a lot.
It's
You
a
and I have
lot.
been friends for a long time. I think
Yeah.
you're, I was trying to remember when we met, and it was at a conference, I want to say 2001 or 2002. I was still in the nonprofit world. So I hadn't even launched my business yet. And yeah, I think that makes you one of my longest standing friends in the industry who I didn't grow up with, because there are people I grew up with who are in the wedding industry now. But if you want to talk about the changes in the industry over the years, and it's always been saturated to varying degrees, but you've really had to pivot your marketing all along over the last couple decades. And this year, when everyone's like, pivot is the buzzword, what's your advice for to people for staying relevant? Obviously, none of us has a crystal ball with COVID, but in general, having seen the technology change so quickly and so much.
I think just like looking at what we've done in the past and what we've said, okay, we really don't need to pay attention to this, and now really paying attention to, um, I think the biggest thing for us the past year has been like staying relevant really on our a website, right? The website is our only thing that we own that is ours on social media, right? Like platform wise, because if TikTok goes away or Instagram goes away or Facebook goes away, there is none of those that we could like. We're so dependent on those for marketing these days, right? But if those go away, we have nothing to have a solid like a solid ground on. So we've been concentrating on more blogging and more posts, and really paying attention to our SEO and what is trending and what I can do better, right? Sometimes I'm considered like a trendsetter, which kind of makes me nervous a little bit, but I'm like, I think ahead. And so I'm not really a trendsetter. I think um, I view things not what like the normal person views. So looking at all of our social media and how to stay, relevant, create new content when everybody's like kind of in their place, like figuring out, oh my God, I need to survive and I need to do this. And I'm like, let's just put on the gas a little bit harder and just kind of create content and be the leader that you keep on saying that you are, and keep on inspiring and educating. And so I think that's been the most important thing for me too. We're shooting, I think, 6 new videos on YouTube. And then I think we're shooting like 30 days of content for TikTok, so that there's going to be a post every single day, just to kind of see and test the water. Are we really going to make sense in that market? Which I think we're going to do if I look at all the analytics, and I look at what other people are doing. There's the market is so open for me right now. I mean, I hate to even say this, but I think
No, it's true.
it, whenever I type all of that, I don't see anyone doing a comedic or sarcastic, or I'm very sarcastic. And I
I
mean,
don't know that.
I think so. Please, it's I think that's why we get along beautifully, right? Like as friends, we're both very cynical and sarcastic with in general, right? And even though I always look at the market and just when I'm at the top, right? And then somebody's like right next to me because they're like really competing. I'm like, that's great because I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna like go really high, right? Like I'm a very competitive person. So I like kind of rest a little bit, and then I just like, I'm like what I say, whip out my chin and kind of go, whip it out and show them like who the king of decor and design is at the moment, right? And I'm not talking about wonderful creators that have created the path for us, because there's a really great industry leaders that I looked up to over the years and admired them, and I said one day I want to be them, and suddenly I'm kind of sort of in that level, if not better. So you have to believe in yourself. And I mean, that's the greatest thing, right? Like you have to believe in your strengths of what you could become. So one of the things I always say is, believe, become. And if you don't believe in your strength and your powers and your knowledge and your creativity or anything that you're doing in your own field, then you're going to start sinking. And that's the worst thing. You can get into this bad, bad black hole, right? And then when you get into that black hole, it's really hard to get out of it for a while, because you don't see anything very clearly. And everybody in their career has gone through that, like I questioned that years ago. It's like, okay, everybody says I'm great. Everybody says, oh my God, you're amazing. And I'm like, what am I amazing about? Like, I haven't done anything in the last few years like that really says that. And I think that every artist, creative artist, goes through that little self-sabotage. It's self-sabotaging a little bit. Uh, and you need to come out of it, right? I went through it for like a year or two where I was like, what am I doing? I've done all the things that I needed to achieve in my career. What's next? And I think that itch wasn't there. And so now that itch is back. It's been back for several years now. And, you've seen me more vibrant, more creative, more daring, more pushing, more educating. And I love that. I love that I'm able to open up the world to see things differently in the creative aspect of it, even education.
Right. I think it's smart that you're approaching TikTok with that strategy, because the mistake I see people making is they take their Instagram story content and just try and drop it in, and it doesn't work. It doesn't resonate. It's very different. And now with Instagram Reels, I don't think people are really getting that either. And they will, they'll figure it out. But I do think it's a very open market right now on there, especially to take the strategy that you are with production quality and planning and batching out the content and making it more comedic and more, I would say, in line with your personality, probably.
Which is, Instagram is a little bit more focused on videos and photography, right? The beauty of that, where so much of the personality of the brand doesn't come out. And I get this a lot too, right? Because everybody sees me as this leader, so they always think I'm very stern and not approachable. But it's true. You're laughing. I mean, you know me really well, but the truth is people always like are very hesitant to talk to me. And then when they get to talk to me or they get to know me, they're like, oh my God, you're such a nice guy. I'm like, what does that mean? And you're sarcastic and you're funny and all that stuff. So my team and I had like a 4-hour meeting yesterday. I'm like, and of course I have young people on my team, so they're always like, but they don't get to see the Eddie. So then you got to show the Eddie part of it on TikTok. I wish TikTok would buy my own TikTok brand company, the domain, and I can just rest assured and then I don't have to think about anything in my life. But that's not happening. Can you imagine if I bought that domain a long time ago? Idiot, right? Idiot.
You've had a lot of brand partnerships. You had one with Restoration Hardware. You've had others. Can you talk a little bit about how those happened and what you learned from them? And for people who are looking for that sort of brand extension for themselves, like some of the pros and cons to be aware of and things to look out for?
My brand partnerships have come to me because I've been lying myself, because it's not the floral part of it. It's really like Eddie Zaratsian lifestyle and design. So that company is now kind of evolved and changed because it's not just floral based. I'm doing right now, when people are not doing so much events, I'm actually working on projects with other brands to develop their brands, not only develop them to like, because I have a very strong intuition about design and how it should go and how it should be presented. So a lot of companies are coming to me now that they're like, hey, we need your design services. So not for just events, but we want you to kind of help us develop and kind of brand and also do photo shoots. So for me as a design company, I'm very open to like bringing on new projects that not necessarily are related to flowers. These brand partnerships, like with the one with Restoration that happened, was such a wonderful opportunity that came into reality. Is the beginning of that year. At that time, my PR company and I had a meeting at the beginning of the year, and well, what are your goals for this year? And each year in the beginning of the year, my team and I said, these are the things I want to manifest, right? And I said, I want to brand my my own. I want to brand Eddie Zaratsian, not TikTok florals, but I want the Eddie, so like it's like taking like Chanel, and Chanel is a great brand, but Karl Lagerfeld is the brand behind Chanel, right? So I wanted the name to come out, which I never used my name. I mean, everybody knew I was behind the brand, but once we changed the philosophy of like hey, this is what I want to brand, this is I want to have a partnership. I didn't know what that was going to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be with Restoration Hardware, because in the beginning of that year I had a meeting with 1-800 Flowers, and they wanted to do a brand partnership with me doing an Eddie Zaratsian collection. And I love the company, I love the model, but I'm more of a luxury brand. And I didn't feel like 1-800 Flowers and Eddie Zaratsian are going to work together correctly, because I'm here selling $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, not even that. I'm talking about an installation or an arrangement. And here we're going to bring it down to like maybe what, stretch it to 100 to 200 or $300, where you're not going to get the same luxury experience with the brand. And I refused. I mean, the CEO of the company came down to see me from the East Coast. We had dinner, we had 2 meetings, lovely people, lovely brand, but I decided not to take it. And then literally 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, I happened to be in the store, and I got a call, and I thought actually it was one of my friends who was doing a prank call. They're like, "Hey, we want a Restoration Hardware wants to collaborate with you. I would collaborate with me." I'm like, "Pfft." Like, here's one of my silly friends trying to be really silly jokes on me. I was like, great. I was like, why don't I take your number and I'll have my PR department call you to kind of discuss what the next moves are. Sure enough, it was the vice president of outdoor garden for Restoration Hardware that was calling me. And here I was kind of being kind of like, you know, non-serious about the whole thing, right? And I think a week or 2 weeks later, we had a huge meeting with the CEO and the CFO, and then the brand communications, and it was like 4 or 5 of them. And the meeting was so powerful that, and I'm never nervous. I can get around anything and I can walk into a room and make friends. But at like during half the meeting, I just got choked up because the energy of the room was so intense. I knew something great was going to come out of it. Sorry, I get
It's okay.
emotional. So, um, when the meeting was done, I can see a light bulb on top of um, Gary Friedman, the CEO, and I knew the meeting went well. I was the second meeting, and what I found out later is they even canceled the third meeting. Like, they knew I was the one. So here, hence, 3 months later, I'm inside Restoration Hardware with my name on the wall saying Eddie Zaratsian, you know, um, botanicals or florals or whatever it said at that moment. And that was a really proud moment, right? Here is a local entrepreneur who ended up getting a national, if not an international presence at that time, and everybody was talking about it. Like, how did Eddie go in from the wedding and floral industry to actually the home industry, right? That was such a big question. And I think it's really what you manifest in life, what you really want. Where do you see yourself? And you have to be so prepared. You have to be so focused. I know sometimes people think I'm just this, you know, the creative guy who's just kind of uh, becomes silly and can be really silly. But I'm really committed to what I do. I mean, I work 14, 15-hour days. I mean, I got home yesterday after a really long day, after waking up from, I think I had like a 18-hour day. And I was so tired, but I was on Pinterest going through kind of some inspirations of what I wanted to do next to see what's out there so I can do something different or better. And I was looking at the content, I was like, ugh, not because of Pinterest, but just the content. I was like, yeah, like I can't, like, that's so not me. So I was like, okay, stop looking at it because that makes you only confused, right? Like, do what you know best. Take all of those 30 plus years of experience that you have, and kind of just like free up your time just to, eh, invite new ideas to come, or ideas that you can repurpose and recycle. The things that you already know, that sometimes we don't know how to go inside of the knowledge that we know because we don't use it. So I have so much that I was like, okay, you don't need anybody else. You can depend on yourself. Again, you have to believe in yourself so you can become one more time. Did I answer that question?
Sort of. It was
Well,
all
I
good.
think
But what are I think some of the business side things that people should be aware of if they're looking to do these type of brand partnerships for their own companies?
so. What they should be looking at, obviously, having a strong foundation with their own business, right? You can't depend on just becoming a florist and then not knowing any knowledge. You're going to get lost so quickly. Like, I had so much to give to this company that I had worked to be where I was, right? And so you have to be great at your accounting, great at your marketing, great at your strategies for business. All of that PR, you have to do all of that stuff. So uh, we have 4 or 5 of us that work on the team from every level, from the face of the brand, to the SEO of the brand, to the face of what the website looks like, and then how is PR pushed, what articles we want to push, what interviews I really do, what I decline. So again, I think you have to have a whole package, including technology, right? You have to be, we're moving, and you've said this so for so many years. I can hear you speaking to me right in my left or right when we were sitting on coffee. You're like, technology, technology, technology. I'm like, stop taking your technology. I'm like, I'm a human. I want to deal with human interaction. And here I was dealing in Zoom calls and not dealing with face to face meetings. And I'm like, Lynn, oh, I hate you so much because you're
I know.
right all the time. No, I
I
love you.
know.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant. So, and these, conferences, and not only relating your business to a certain industry, like just the wedding industry or just the creative industry, just opening up your business to be able to have other opportunities to come to you. If you're just a florist, that's what you're going to get. If you're a designer and you're pushing for other things, you're going to start manifesting. I know that I'm going to get another. um, I have this really strong itch that I'm going to get another a brand partnership. I just really feel it, and I nobody knows this, and I'm going to tell you because I'm starting a line, an Eddie Zaratsian line. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we've talked about this. But it's
Okay.
actually coming. It's coming into reality, and I've already started the designs. I'm super excited because I do have the audience for it, and it's exactly in line of what the brand is, right? Because everybody wants to get a piece of Eddie, right? Whether it's on a larger scale for their event or an arrangement that they want to receive locally. This is going to be able to give them a nationwide availability without me having to really touch anything anymore, right? I'm going to uh, design this, and then I'm going to produce it, and I'm going to sell it, but I'm not going to um, do the daily aspects of it. I'm just going to do the product, and then I'm just going to kind of walk out. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be super exciting. I can't wait.
Yay. When does that
Yay.
launch? Do you have a date yet?
No, I'm not stressing myself because I want to do it right because I'm a perfectionist. You know this. Every time I look at something, I over dissect it, and I know I have a very strong team, creative team, internally to help me manifest all of that. We're going to start slowly. I don't want to push it, I don't want to push it very strongly in the beginning because we're going to be testing a little bit, right? We're going to see we're going to do limited editions, or we're going to do collections. We might do a fall, winter, and then a spring, summer, or 4 times a year we're going to do that collection, seasonal collection. I've always thought of my brand kind of in line with fashion. Okay, so that's how I always like to release things. Like even with flowers, right? They have seasons. So why lock yourself down for one look throughout the whole year, where every 3 months you could roll out a new collection or new designs that people will kind of like go, wow, I want to be a part of that, right? Like you're building a culture, you're building a brand that your audience is going to want a piece of you. And that's what we're trying to do, so that I could not have to work 18-hour days. I maybe want to work 10 hours a day. So the rest of the 8 hours I can play around. I don't know. I'm a workaholic, so I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what I want. I want to enjoy life a little bit differently.
Well, nothing with a holic in it is healthy. So I think it's good that you're trying to create something that, or are creating something that will give you some boundaries with your time.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
that will make you more creative.
yeah. So I've been lately, we've been discussing about bringing on a different person within internally, more of a sales and marketing person, so that I don't have to deal with the business aspect of the business. I really want to deal with the creative. I don't want to be, not that I mind talking to the client. I don't mind doing the first call and the second call to bring them in, because I'm the brand behind this. And we talked about this too. And my return rate, when I actually am the one who's calling or emailing the client through an inquiry, 90% of the time I book it because of my personality and my knowledge and my passion at what I do. And I think that shows even in a conversation, right? It won't show up in a text message as
Right.
clearly, but it will definitely show up in a Zoom video call, and it'll definitely show up in a in a phone call, because you feel that energy, you feel that passion, you feel, rather than someone being, oh yeah, we do weddings, yes, what can I help you out with? You got to be excited. You got to say, oh my God, this is another opportunity for me to be able to do the beautiful work that I'm being hired to do, right? That's how you should approach it.
Okay. Do you want me to cut this part out
Whatever you want. You're
or
the
leave it?
best.
You didn't
You
say
can
what
do
it
it.
was, so do you want me to leave it?
Yeah, leave it. Leave it.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine, because then people know that you're actually doing something rather than being passive in life, right?
I'll leave it then. So you mentioned the piece of Eddie part, which I think is important. And we've had this conversation a lot over the years, but there are two aspects to your business. And like you said, the year that you landed the restoration hardware partnership was the year you really spun out the Eddie Zaratsian brand from TikTok Floral. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how those two brands are different and what each does, and how obviously part of the motivation for it was to be able to not box yourself in, but because it's also a family company.
Well, TikTok originated in 1988, and it started as a watch repair gift store, right, in the late 80s. And I was in high school at that time, and I knew I wanted to help out my parents somehow, because I've always been, not one like kid that had an iPad, and we didn't have any of those back in the days, right? We played as kids outside. We went out. We actually had interaction with one another, and I wanted to do something. And so when my father started the company, I said, "Hey, I want to do some balloons." And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. Look, there's like a great profitability margin in there. I mean, like basically you're selling air." You're blowing it up as air, and then you're making these creations. I'm like, your profit margin is so much higher than any other business, right? And so I started creating all these parties, and I remember I landed the Flamingo Hilton account in Las Vegas, and we were doing their casino marketing parties for New Year's and everything that they did throughout the year. So we would drive out to Vegas or fly out to Vegas, do these events, come back, and I was like, oh my God, I felt like Superman, like, hey, this guy, you're really doing something, you're being productive. And Then one of my dad's clients who used to come in for watch repair said, "Hey, Eddie, we're the leasing office is opening up a gym, and we want you to do the florals and some balloon sculptures of like, woman and a man working out with workout clothes." And I was like, "How the hell do you make human beings or replicas of human beings with balloons?" Figured it all that out. I didn't even know how to do floral arrangement. I mean, I saw a picture of it the other day. It was like really disgusting. And I was like, oh my God, I should never put this in my portfolio ever. But it would have been great to do it before and after for how long I've come through. I started educating myself into the florals. I took a course. And one of the things that who's one of my mentors, he said, I want you to learn all the rules, but know how to break them. And that always in back of my head, I was like, okay, that means he sees the creativity in me. He knows he's going to teach me the basics, and then I have to push full forward. Then I decided that I wanted to get into florals, had a conversation with my dad. Of course, my mom always being the positive, going, oh, yes, whatever my son wants, do it, do it, do it, do it. And my dad's going, what are you talking about? A man? Are me a man in the flower business? What are you talking about? There's no way you're going to make money. Years later, I was like, I want 50% of the business because I deserve it. And, um, you know, uh, and it's more of a floral based company. It produces events, it does funerals, it does daily orders, it does corporates, it does weekly arrangements, all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, okay, I've done this. This is great. I made this successful. We were considered one of the best in LA, if not again, in the United States. And I was like, I'm itching for more. I'm itching for more. And this is when that whole transition of branding Eddie Zaratsian, that I wanted to do bigger projects and have brand partnerships. And it only made sense because you can never say restoration hardware and TikTok, right? Like it wouldn't have worked. You needed the designer, for restoration hardware. And that's how that all came about. I was probably in the right place at the right time with the right um, energy that I put into my business, that I was able to, bring that to life. Mm-hmm. So the difference between TikTok and Eddie Zaratsian is more of an overall design lifestyle company that works on different levels with clients rather than just florals.
And are you still in the daily running of TikTok, or does someone else handle the business side of all that?
I go in maybe once a week or twice a week. I really don't run the daily operations of it. I do have some old clients that will reach out to me and they'll want me to take care of things for them. And of course, with pleasure, right, I do that. But I'm not in the daily aspect or the operations of it. I don't want to be in it. I don't There's so much other things going on creatively for me that my concentration is really with Eddie Zaratsian. Once in a while I go in, I'm like, this is the way I want things done. But then again, if it works for them, why change things, right? Why try to fight something that's already working for them?
Do you want to talk about the pandemic and the impact of it on everything?
I just want 2020 to be over. I mean, it's a nightmare year and we're almost there. We're almost there. I think this is a wonderful thing that's happened, really honestly. And I know that I know the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, what people were going through, the uncertainty, and even myself, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? All these events, I was at a conference, came back, and all these events were being canceled. And I would go, oh, what's happening? And I knew from the start, this is not going to end quickly. And I said this so many times. I was on conference calls, I was on Zoom meetings, and everybody's like, this is going to pass. We're going to be fine in the summer. People are going to start doing weddings. Well, listen, people are still doing weddings, but the change from a 500 people wedding has changed to 100 people. People are paying more attention to details and the experience of the wedding rather than inviting the whole community, right? Because they have to. Now that there's some restrictions or some guidelines that you have to adhere to, I think younger couples are finding it an opportunity. Like, I don't want to have 500 people at this wedding. I want to still have 100, and I want to do still beautiful things. So the spending habit has not changed for me. So I actually like it because the competitors, the oversaturated from market, it's they're kind of going out, and the people that are relevant and are the ones that are the leaders in the business that are going to survive because they're going to keep pushing forward. So that's competitive wise, I'm kind of happy because I'm like, I'm going to crush you because I have more knowledge and more experience and more, like, you know what I mean? So those were like the ones that were bothering because I was like, you're coming into the market, suddenly on social media, you're like popular, but your work on social media and your actual work in reality are two different things. So it's misleading. So uh, you know, social media can be misleading as well, right? Because it's the real life versus Instagram life. And I think my brands have always been true and authentic to what it stands for. And this is why, and we've always had a clear definition of who we are and what we do. And this is why we'll never change, right? We'll never, uh, unless one day I decide not to do it anymore, I'm never going to go out of business, hopefully, I should say.
A lot of people are hurting right now.
I know, I know,
A lot of really talented people.
I
It's
know.
not just the people who are fake on Instagram.
Yeah, but they have to figure out what their next move is, right? Like what their if there was an exit sign or and I'm not saying this might not happen in 3 months for me either, but at this point we have to look positive and we have to go forward. That's all I can say.
I think they are going forward.
Hopefully, hopefully.
How big is your staff now?
It went from 25 to probably 10
Because of the pandemic?
because like this weekend I have 5 small events, right? One is a wedding for 70 people in their backyard. And I'll show you pictures because it's absolutely going to be stunning. Then I have like a movie night for one of our clients who had done their wedding. Then I have a little birthday party. Then I have, so everybody's entertaining still, but they're doing it on smaller scales. So I'm happy and I'm obviously very grateful and very fortunate that I'm still able to work and my team, not all of it, but at least most of it is able to work and come back to work. um, you got to think positive. I mean, obviously, if you go into that hole, what's going to happen? Which I did for a while in the beginning because I was like nervous. You can't go out here, you can't do this, you can't go. I was like, okay, I get all of you, but then you have to live your life. I'm not saying the virus doesn't exist or people haven't been affected in my life. They have. It's a flu. It's a bad flu. And
no, it is not. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to
tell me,
stop you right there.
tell me.
There is way more science behind it. It is not a bad flu.
Okay, so tell me. You want to tell me off camera?
What do you want to know?
So you're telling me it's not a flu. So what is it? Because they're saying you can get it and then you can get it 3 months later. So tell me.
It's a virus that we've never seen before, that they are still figuring out things and how it affects people.
How does it affect people? Obviously, some deadly and some not, right?
More deadly. I mean, we're up to over 250,000 people who have died just in the United States, including people in our industry. They're showing that it affects cardiovascular system potentially for life. They're showing that it can replicate brain cells in abnormal ways. Like the long-term effects of it, they're still figuring out.
Okay.
This isn't a flu.
Okay. I accept it because obviously I'm not reading on that every day or every other day, to be honest with you, because I'm so into like the creative world and like what I want to manifest. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It does exist. I don't know. We'll argue about this because we know sometimes it's good to argue, right? Because we're not always on the same page on certain things, but that's what
But this
makes it
isn't an opinion issue. This is scientific.
right. But
We can argue about how healthcare should handle it. We can argue about how the government should handle it and what the extent of their fiscal responsibility in helping people is. Like, those are all fine to have different opinions about. But the science of what a virus is, you don't get to argue about.
Right. Which I'm not saying. I don't know. And I wish I knew a little bit more on the scientific knowledge of that because, there you know, even on social media, you're fed only a portion of it or what people want you to see because there's other things that are not even true. Right.
Well, I don't
So,
think you should get your news from social media. Like, if that's the only place you're getting news, you're going to get bombarded with conspiracy theories and things that aren't true,
right.
which is happening. And those things are going mainstream very fast, which I find scary. But the scientific news is out there.
When do you think this is going to be over? Well, as far as us getting back to whatever normal is going to be.
Us, as in the event industry.
Uh-huh. Because we're hurting the most, right?
Yeah, one of the most. Yeah, I think a lot of people are treating December 31st as the date it's all going to end, and 2021 is going to be great. And I think 2021 is going to be very difficult. I do think we're going to get a vaccine sooner than we have for other diseases in the past, because just like technology with marketing has changed so fast, vaccine technology has changed drastically. But most people don't know about it because that's not our job and we're not involved and we don't stay up on, medical technology news typically. So there are ways for them to get into like the third trial and all of that faster than they have in the past. It doesn't have to take minimum 5 years anymore because of advances in science and medicine, which is great. So I think we're in a better position now than we would have been had this come in 2012. But I do think 2021 is going to be difficult. I think that humans are resilient and celebrations are part of life and the fabric of society and have been since the beginning of time and at every level of socioeconomic status. And so I think that for a lot of people, this has shifted priorities back to focusing on what's important. Like you said, you have younger clients who are like, I don't really want the 500 people. I want the people I love there. And that's who I'm going to focus on. So I think we've seen a lot of that in general. And so I think people are going to want to celebrate in meaningful ways. And they are now, Zoom baby showers and Zoom birthday parties and weddings and in-person events done the way they can be for now. And I do think, depending on the country people are in, that normal will come back in stages. I don't think the whole world is going to return to normal at the same time because it will depend on how their local officials are handling everything. But I don't know if it'll be 100% back to normal, but I think we'll see celebrations. And I think, if enough people can get vaccinated, I think that helps. I think if people can put aside the personality trait that says like, you're not the boss of me, you can't tell me what to do, and just wear their masks, we can stop the spread even sooner. It's just a matter of, I think especially in countries where individualism tends to be prioritized, which is good, but also has its drawbacks. And in a situation like this, I think that some of the drawbacks are being highlighted right now. Like, just wear the mask. No one likes wearing it.
Right. Right.
You're not going to go have open heart surgery and tell the surgeon not to wear his mask. So obviously, they work. Just wear it. Like, it's not a big deal. And then we can get back to normal. And that's my take on
your take on it. Perfect.
What are you most looking forward to when all of this is done?
Connecting with all my friends and giving them big hugs and showing them that we went through some major and that I'm happy that we were resilient and strong enough to go through it, some better than others, right? No matter what, we came through all we rose from the ashes. That's what I really want. I want to hug and I want to, say we did it. That's what I really want. I miss my people. I miss my industry.
Yeah. Me too.
I miss that part of it.
I'm looking forward to being able to give you a hug.
Sooner. Exactly. Sooner. Such a wonderful friend. Thank you for having me. She's like, I know. How's your sister? Can you give her my hugs and I wish her well?
I'll hug her over FaceTime for you.
Yeah, just go like this. Yeah. I love you lots.